Stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic of the nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice. Voting.
Let's have a moment of silence for our first responders, our EMS, and our fire, please. Thank you.
Okay, we'll be starting tonight's ABC kickoff meeting with a special presentation. Tonight, Bill Volk is with us from the American Academy for Parks and Recreation Administration. He is the immediate past president of the Academy and current Parks and Recreation Director for the Township of Morris in New Jersey. The Academy is a national organization comprised of highly experienced professionals and educators dedicated to the advancement of the profession of parks and recreation and limited to 137 current practitioners and educators. The prestigious National Gold Medal Awards program. The Academy recognizes excellence in parks and recreation through various awards, including the prestigious National Gold Medal Awards program. And to underscore his dedication to parks and recreation, Bill drove 2 hours one way just to be here tonight. Please join my fellow supervisors and I in welcoming Bill and his wife to East Goshen Township.
Well, thank you so much for that warm welcome. I really do appreciate that. And you know, I'm a government geek. I like to come out to government meetings, and my wife will tell you I'm on Zoom from a lot of the ones in my own hometown, just to find out what's going on in the community. So I appreciate the work that you all do. I appreciate that kind introduction too. It's my honor tonight to represent the Academy, to congratulate the Township of East Goshen, Department of Parks and Recreation, and the Park Commission before their community leadership for the achievement as a national finalist in the National Gold Medal Award Program. This is the 4th time you've been a finalist, and I will tell you that that's a real tribute to this community and what they do. And of course, the staff for trying to put these not easy applications together. I am really pleased to represent some of the partners we have on this award, because I have to give a little commercial plug. Musco Sports Lighting is one of our national sponsors for this program. I don't know whether you have any sports lighting in the community, but we're also a partner with the National Recreation and Park Association, who helps us promote this award and recognizes its contribution to really look at the best management practices around our country. East Goshen is one of 24 community agencies and military bases to be selected as finalists in 2022. The program is the nation's premier recognition for parks and recreation service quality. The award honors public parks and recreation agencies, state park systems in the U.S., and military installations worldwide that demonstrate excellence in long-range planning, resource management, fiscal practices, innovative approaches to delivering superb parks and recreation services to your constituents. This year, each finalist agency is recognized for meeting the very difficult demands of delivering services during and through the COVID-19 pandemic. And of course, as a 4-time finalist, you've been delivering these services right on through. Park visitors and program participants relied heavily on our nation's parks and recreation agencies for physical, mental, and emotional support during these difficult years. It's also my pleasure tonight to commend the elected officials of this township, the commissioners of your park board, many of whom are here tonight, and I've really enjoyed meeting you, Jason Lang and the Parks and Recreation Department staff for their excellence. Achieving finalist status is an incredibly difficult challenge, and it's clear that the group of independent judges that looks at this category, and all of our categories, so those 24 for the finalists, they recognized East Goshen again for the outstanding example of service delivery. I thank you for the opportunity to come here, 4 hours of travel, but it's my pleasure to do so. It didn't snow, so we're real happy about that part of it tonight. It was actually kind of nice. It's been a nice week for this time of year in the Northeast. So I hope my presence today is just a way of cheering you on for applying again to be the national finalist, but become back again. I've already been lobbying Jason and the staff for another crack at the finalists. But you know, being a finalist in the competition is out of the thousands of agencies across the country does mark the importance of what Parks and Recreation means to the constituents and of course to elected officials like yourselves who are here to champion those services and provide a great quality of life for your community. So I thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for making the effort to be here too.
So I just want to say a few words. First, can we give Bill and Angela another round of applause real quick, please?
For the effort. Appreciate it.
Everyone here knows I drive from Allentown. That's 1 hour one way. He beats me by a whole other hour. So that's pretty amazing. But I've told the story before, but I just want to reiterate it again, just how important that Parks and Recreation is to the people of East Goshen Township. And this gold medal really represents that. So when I started here 9 years or so ago, I had literally never been in East Goshen in my life. Never been in Chester County in my life. Allentown kid, you know, like I align more with New York City, you know. No offense to Eagle fans in the room or anything, but, and I had worked in Parks and Recreation, various areas around the country. So I had something that the residents here don't have, which is objective perspective. So when I took this job, I knew what was good in Parks and Recreation and it did not work well. So when I came here, interviews were fantastic. Parks were great. After about 2 weeks, I went home and I said, Tori, I don't think this place is real. And she'll tell you to this day, I did that. I said, I don't think it's real. Like the parks are great and they're slammed with people all day long. And the park commission is great. They have great ideas. They'll roll up their sleeves. They'll change garbage cans with me. Like they're a hardworking crew. Elected officials, they believe in Parks and Recreation. They fund Parks and Recreation. We're working on projects. They believe in what that means for their people. The staff, Mark Miller back there, Public Works Director, Pate's taking credit for anything. He won't even look at me right now. But, right?
No.
He's, of course, getting off easy this year because there's no snow. But he and his guys, they work their butt off in the parks, and they deserve this as much as anybody. You know, point in case, the bridge that was destroyed in the park, you know, they got inspected on one day. 2 weeks later, we had a brand new bridge in the park. I don't know any other communities that do that. So, and of course, they did it in-house. So pennies on the dollar. So when I started here and I said to Tori, this is just a wonderful, fantastic community, I knew about this award. And I said, East Goshen is a gold medal community. So I knew it before you guys did. So kudos to me for that one. But you guys, this is your award. It's not mine. It's not Jess's. It's not Mark's. It's your award. You guys are in the park. You know, you guys are residents that fund the parks and the programs. So I'm just really proud that you guys could have this.
Nice job. Well done. Right. Thank you, Dave. Thank you. Putting in the front of the car.
We'd love to stand. Thank you.
We're just the background for you, Jason.
We stand over here. That was like.
Oh wait, no wait. I think that.
Oh, we just
There you go. You tell us what David. You just tell us what you want us to do.
Yeah.
No, David, where are you going? David, come back.
Like a recreation park.
Come on, come back over. Come back over. We're all supposed to be in. The gang's all here. We might as well.
Should we sit down on the front?
I think that David is tall enough.
You're fine.
Towers over me, so we're good.
Okay.
He towers over you too.
Can we get one with the park condition real quick?
Oh, absolutely.
This is important.
So it's fun, we're gonna have all night, so.
Yeah, that's rest of it. You didn't say the rest of it.
No, you're good, you're good, you're good, you're good.
What are you doing?
I want to get out of it.
I know,
Oh,
we were going to make sure that I.
This is how it is.
not as good looking.
All right, last one is just.
Okay. No, you stay.
You don't see the pushes over the edge.
Oh, yeah.
$700,000 in the budget, the park budget. So that's true. That'd be fun to do something special,
I told you we should do it.
like rocket ships or something.
Mark could do it. Am I gonna go?
I think so.
All right, thank you very much.
All right.
Good job.
I hear it's snowing in Allentown.
Oh, no, I'm for Dana, but he's not here tonight. I'll tell you about it later.
All right.
No. I'm not gonna go that far. No. I think I'm high.
Just call them up, right?
Yep.
All right, let's get to the regular meeting. The municipal authority is up first.
Could I have a couple words first?
Oh, I'm sorry, Mike.
Yeah,
Yes,
that's
Mike.
okay.
Mike, one.
I'd just like to share a couple words, if you'll indulge me.
Pictures.
No pictures, but it's kind of a little bit of a tone to set the tone. And you know me, I can wander and roam, but so throw me a bone for a minute. I want to share something with you. Of course, first I want to say thanks. For me, in a little selfish way, this is my last roundup here, so I won't be in this venue again, finishing my year. So I do want to say, you know, thanks for your service and the investment that you put in week in, month out. You know, your civic leaders, and we all are invested in this community in a very special way. And there's not a day that goes by that any of us on the board are not appreciative of everything that you do to help us, but mainly to help our residents in this community be what it is. And Jason's presentation tonight is a great example of that. I want to share just something for a minute, just a little perspective. When I say your investment in your community and in community, I didn't look this up today, and I might have a different definition tomorrow, but community, it's both a deliberate and it's an instinctual coming together of our species, really, to share ideas and build relationships and connect. And I think over these years, since the 21st century has started, it's been under more assault and stress, in my opinion, and it's suffered. I don't think technology has done a great job with keeping the connectivity that we need as an interactive community where we're seeing each other and having good conversations. We've become more isolated in our community with things like social media. We get stuck in our boxes and we don't get the perspective of sharing with people. And so you know, the whole point is to build together. And I know that there is the integrity here that we're not going to let that happen. You know, this connectivity is essential that we have, and this community is essential to prosper and survive. So I just ask you to keep this, you know, commitment in all that you do. And as you think and interact with the community here, there, and everywhere in our community. You know, I've heard comments in the past about, well, you're not respecting my interests. There's a bit of selfishness that undermines the community. Community means a give and take. And I think we will, you know, we try and seek to understand our common interests. We're not always going to agree, but coming together and making sure the community is front and center is important. And essential. You know, I wore this East Bradford Township sweater tonight because, of course, I've had a history there, but it's an example of what local government is. All our almost 1,500 second-class townships in Pennsylvania, over 2,500 municipal governments. We could go to any given government at any given day and amongst that community be able to ask or share, and it will be, and information will be provided in a very collegial and respectful and professional manner. It's so important, and this is an example of it. East Bradford Township, we could call them tomorrow and ask them what they've done for a particular project, and they would jump right in and assist. And that's another example of community with local government. There's a very special opportunity. I wouldn't have it any other way. I don't know how some of the folks that run for elected office survive at the state or the federal level and the frustration. But here we do get things done, and we get things done with you guys, good elected official citizens, just like you guys. I want to share one paragraph from the current Township News that is out today from David Sanko, who's the executive director for PSTATS. April is local government week. And of course, we have the annual conference in Hershey during that period. But as far as I'm concerned, local government awareness and recognition week is this week. It's with you guys right here. But David ends his introductory in this issue with this. And I'm kind of putting it out there for you as well, because there may be somebody here of interest, may be interested. But if you decide to run for re-election, thank you for your service. If you decide to continue to serve, thank you for the commitment. In any event, please let me thank everyone for all you do to help prove why local government is the best form of government. Neighbors helping neighbors counts, and responsiveness counts. And you don't find that anywhere more than in local government. And thanks for your service, past, present, and future. So from David Sanko, it's the same message. It's the same thing from our board. Just thanks. And local government, as it's been attributed apparently from Thomas Jefferson, government that is closest to the people is the best government. And I think we've got a great township organization here, made possible by the efforts that we all put into it. So thank you.
All right. You're
ready? Thanks for attending tonight. I want to present the accomplishments and the goals for the municipal authority. Just as an overview, the municipal authority is actually a separate entity from the township. We have a board of 5 members, and we just had our reorganization. Walt is the outgoing chairman. I'm the new chairman. So if you have any suggestions, complaints, wait till next year. So for 2002, we had our accomplishments. First of all, we were able to run our waste treatment plant. For those that you are not familiar, basically our wastewater streams go to 2 plants. One we own the East Goshen wastewater treatment, and the other flows go to West Goshen and their plant. So for our plant, we were able to operate that plant within permit ranges for the entire year. That's a significant accomplishment because if you don't, the fines for not doing that are significant. So that's a big accomplishment for the plant to run with throughout the year under our permit. The other big thing that's been going on for the past 3 years is that West Goshen had to upgrade their plant to meet Pennsylvania and federal wastewater treatment standards. That's been a significant amount of money. And since we send flows to that plant, we're responsible for some of the capital upgrades they had to do to that plant. It was a lot of money that we had to invest. Even with that though, just so you understand, the treatment cost at the West Goshen plant is actually a little below what it costs, our treatment costs at our own plant. So they are fairly efficient there, but time caught up with them. They didn't do a lot of maintenance on their plant. So it was kind of that scenario of pay me now or pay me later. With our plant, we kind of take the opposite approach. We like to do our maintenance on a schedule so that we don't have these big hit ticket items staring us in the face down the road because we were negligent on maintaining our plant. So that continues to go on. We continue to do maintenance with our plant. We did that in 2002. One of the other things we have to upgrade, and part of this West Goshen upgrade is the pump station at Westtown Way. That's a significant capital expenditure also in the range of a couple $1 million for us. So that's another expense that we're having to bear over the next couple of years. Throughout all this, Mark and his team have done a great job of looking for I&I. I&I stands for inflow and infiltration of water into our system that really doesn't need to be treated. It's basically rainwater or runoff that somehow gets into our sewer lines, and we have to treat that water. We really don't want to treat that water because it's not water that needs to be treated. So Mark and his team go around. You've probably seen them with their cameras going through our sewer lines, trying to eliminate that I&I. That's a significant cost savings if we can eliminate that water that's coming into our pipelines that shouldn't be there. Mark, I don't know. I think we're going to show, are we going to show a video tonight?
I'm trying to pull it up right now.
All right. Well, I'll keep talking until it comes up. So we just recently found some significant inflows that will help us save a lot of treatment costs that we're seeing in our system. The other big project that is going to go on and has just started now is there's a sewer line that goes through Hershey Mill Estates that was in very bad shape. So that's going to be replaced this year. We've just let the contract out, and the contractor is going to start in February. And Mark and his crew have already been out there clearing some of the trees that were in the right of way where this pipeline needs to be replaced. So that's going to start. So you may see some action, a lot more action in that area. If basically it's, I don't know if you're familiar with the dam project, but it's basically from the dam all the way back up up into the Hershey Mill Estates.
So just behind you is the video. This is one example of groundwater infiltration, which Kevin was describing, and adds to the daily volume that's not supposed to be there at the plant. So I will show a couple more, but this is a pretty severe one. And this is what they do every day. Public Works trying to, scope this out, make sure they can get a handle on what the capital improvements are going to need to look like for the next, not just next year, for the next decade and beyond.
Southwood Road to the West Coast and Palm Station. The only way we can televise is come in 11 o'clock at night, plug the line, and go manhole to manhole. Plug is a 4-foot diameter, and once they blow it up, it's up to 22.5 inches of stuff. Well, you know, the least we have look at the field. Just go, and they just rest it all night long. So somebody will bring up, we've had about 50,000 gallons. It's not more.
Per day.
A day?
Per day.
A day? Wow, wow.
So this is a great example of the stuff unseen that really matters, not just to the community, but to the environment. And you know, so it just, you know, you guys are out there working in the wee hours of the night because that's when the flows are low and it's the most convenient time to do it. But you know, it's all behind the scenes stuff we don't typically think about. Yeah, there you go.
You know, you see it come through your neighborhood, those of you that have all the store, your cleanout pipe would stick up. If the lawnmower guy hits somewhere in that fall, it can take out one, it's pretty short. But actually the frost will pick the plastic upright cleanout and pull them out of the socket. So you see our guys walking through your neighborhood, push them back.
Mark, is this still part of that same?
Yes, this is everything we did.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah, we
keep in mind this main is like 22.5 feet. We try not to have to dig it to repair. We're going to try to do point repair so we send them move down the line and then
Anytime you see really clear water, that's not a good thing.
Kind of non-invasive surgery.
Okay. This is also where we can also find illegal hookups into the system. So if people are pumping their water into the sewer system, we can by televising these lines, we can find those areas also.
Yeah, that's the inflow part of the I&I. There's the infiltration, which is this, but the inflow or these illegal tap-ins that can add some real water, sump pumps, et cetera, et cetera.
Go ahead, Kevin.
And then another important part of what we have to do is we have to meter these flows, and that's really important that we have accuracy there. We can send up to 1 million gallons of wastewater to West Goshen, and we can send up to 750,000 gallons to our waste treatment plant at East Goshen daily. So it's for us to know how much we're sending to each of those facilities is significant. Just so we know, how much wastewater we're treating. It's also with West Goshen, how much we treat is what we pay. So it's important that we get the meter flows right. So we do a lot of work on making sure that our meters are calibrated. That's why we like to upgrade our meters. As Michael knows, I go a little crazy on trying to find meters that'll remain accurate over time. Mark and his crew are constantly out having to try to reset these meters and making sure that they're accurate for us. Some of the other things we have going on are safety items. We're putting in a treatment tank that's going to put caustic soda up into the tanks at the plant that previously was done by hand. Literally, the plant operators had to bring these bags of material and cut them open and put that into the treatment tanks. And it was a very unsafe operation the way they had to do that. So we decided to go with a more automated system. So that's going to be going in this year. We, as a municipal authority, we're very conservative in how we try to do things. We're constantly looking for money. And over the past few years, we have been able to get some government money to pay for a lot of these upgrades that we put into our facilities. So we are conscientious about how we spend your dollars. And I think you can see that by what your wastewater treatment bill is that you get. We're probably right in the middle of the pack on what it costs, cost you versus the surrounding townships. So everyone that wants to, bring Aqua in to run their treatment plant facilities, beware of what you ask for. I think our neighbors next to us here are seeing that that's not the best option always to have a, billion-dollar corporation operate your facility. So again, if you have any questions or comments, please, defer those till next year. I appreciate that. Any questions, comments? Yes, sir. Yes. Yeah, groundwater, rainwater. Yes. And as it's been, and that's part of the reason I think we're seeing this. It's been a pretty wet winter season here. So I think that's why we're seeing a lot of this that we haven't seen in the past, because we've televised these areas before. And we haven't seen flows like that. So I think it's great that, we found these. If we go back probably about 10, 15 years, I mean, we were literally forced by Pennsylvania to do an I&I in these inspections. So we have to report on this every year on what we're finding and what we're repairing and eliminating. So it's a major problem by every township. It's not just our, it's not just an issue in our township. I would think that if West Goshen would go through their facilities with some of their infrastructure they have, they could save quite a bit of flow into their system like we're doing. And that's part of the thing. I think we're getting a little closer with their folks, and I think we'll help them understand, what we're doing to control our I&I. Any other questions? Thank you for the time.
Thank you, Kevin. Good presentation. For the record, Mike Lynch is the board liaison with the municipal authority. Up next, I guess, is the Park and Rec Commission. Who is that?
Debbie.
Debbie, okay.
Good evening. My name is Debbie Snyder, and I am the chair of the Park and Rec Commission, and have the honor of working with Jason, our township ever ready or Energizer bunny. He's finally realized that there are so many more things he wants to accomplish in the township that he decided he needed some help. So we now have a J&J team. J&J team, yes. So Jess has been hired as our her title, Recreation Program Director, Coordinator. And so they're together providing even more creative ideas and energy into the township already.
She's still in her honeymoon year, so give her a little round of applause because she's really going to take it.
And after COVID, we are finally able to run a first full day camp program for the kids in our district, and it sold out within 6 hours of opening for registration. The new camp is coming up soon, and tomorrow registration, so we'll see if it sells out faster than 6 hours. And as you saw tonight, we were a finalist for the gold medal for the 4th consecutive year. Again, Jason did a heck of a job writing the grant and providing a film, and amazing. And so again, fourth year in a row, that's quite an accomplishment. We had a couple Eagle Scout projects that were completed in our park this year. We had a tennis hit board that was installed And then we also have a new bocce court. So we anticipate having some bocce competitions, some leagues formed this spring, and maybe even we'll have something during Community Day. We secured a 60,000 pickleball tennis court project to resurface and paint, and the pickleball people are extremely happy with that. And our film showcase for the teenagers won a partnership from Governor Wolf. We were recognized. We went to Harrisburg and received an award for this innovative project. Teenagers are a tough group to deal with, and this project has really been beneficial to them and created a lot of enthusiasm. And we had entries and films from all over the world, not just our township or the state of Pennsylvania. Yes, we had a flash mob, of which Michelle Truitt helped kick that one off with her flute. Parading down the pathway in the park with the band and the Time to Leap dancers. So that was definitely a creative thing. All the programming that we had planned this year was fulfilled. And we've, as I say, we're working to add even more. Our toy drive this year brought in over 250 gifts to distribute. And we had the seniors come in and we wrapped up all the gifts in under an hour. So we had quite a few there to do that. And again, as Jason said earlier, our footbridge with Mark and his crew was replaced very quickly, and you can see it when you walk by. It's beautiful, and the walkers are really appreciating that. And then Carmen and his junior beekeeping program has gotten off to a real good start, and provide elementary school age children the opportunity to learn about bees, and they have their own beekeeping suits that they can put on and go out there and get real close to the bees and learn from Carmen about the way honey is formed. And it's a good on hands educational lesson for the kids. And that's what we just did in 2022. And so 2023, Jess, we'll let you talk about the upcoming goals.
And while she's on her way up, I'm just going to say I got to help with the flash mob because I guessed what the super spectacular thing was going to be. I twisted Jason's arm.
Yeah, I teased that for a long time. She called me one day and said, "I know what it is."
Figured it out.
She figured it out. So 2023 will be a wonderful year in the parks. Tomorrow is the first day for camp registration. Starts at 6 o'clock in the morning. So if you're sitting at home and you feel like the earth shake a little bit, it's because the parents are going crazy because they got in, or maybe they just didn't get in this year. So it is on the horizon to add a whole second campsite so we can fit more families in, but that's 2024. But this will be a great year. A couple of ribbon cuttings coming up. You're welcome to join us at Hershey's Mill for ribbon cutting. And we'll also over at Marydale Pond for ribbon cutting sometime in the spring. Christy is here, I believe. She may have stepped, oh, there she is. Christy has done a wonderful job as our poet laureate. She'll be stepping down at some point this year. So the applications are out there right now. We're going to do some interviews, and we'll be filling that position here shortly. But that has been a really great addition to what we do. Since 2015, when Ginny Newland was our first poet laureate, we've had 3 now. And Christy's over at the Malvern Library leading poetry discussions. It's been a really neat kind of feather in our cap, something different that, you know, I can't provide, that we have wonderful residents who are poet laureates. So we look forward to starting it up again. And then the last one I'll talk about before I bring Jess up is the Chester County Art Walk, which is in September every year. Last year was a great hit. We were here in the park and on the trail. This year we were awarded America Walks General Motors grant, which is $1,500. And it's going to fund a couple of different things. We do have some mobility challenges in the township. So it's going to fund transportation from the Route 3 area to come all the way over to the park so they can enjoy the event. So essentially like a bus service from Waterview and all the apartments down there, pick up people, bring them to the park, like a round trip, as if you're going like to a festival. So it's going to be really cool. And then the other neat thing for any teenagers, if you have teen artists at home, is that there'll be a $500 prize for the winning artwork, original artwork around the theme of movement, mobility, walking, etc. It could be any medium, sculpture, art, photography, that will be presented at the event. The general public will select the winner. The winning piece will be displayed at the General Motors headquarters in, not Philadelphia, it's around here somewhere, Langhorne, it's in Langhorne. So which would be an awesome feather in the cap for a local artist to see if their piece is like in the headquarters. And they also get $500 cash, which is not too shabby if you're a high school kid around here. So with that, I'm gonna turn over to Jess to talk about some other new stuff we have for this year.
So this year we're hosting our first ever photo contest in partnership with the Photography Workshop and Locust Lane Brewery. Winning for the adults, they'll be featured on the beer can that will be at our food truck festival. And then the children's winner will get a free photography workshop. General public will be able to vote at our community day for the winner. New programming, we're going to do a sailing trip this spring, waiting for Nickel Kalmara to finalize their schedule, which we'll know later this month or March. So that should hopefully go out in May. Dutch Apple Theater trip, we've taken a survey and majority want Jimmy Buffett Margaritaville. So that will be in October or November. Debbie here started a senior book club. So there's a new book every month and we meet here the second Tuesday of every month at 1 p.m. After school programming has been boosted with some Legos and trying to do some crafts. So after school or half days or when Westchester Area School District has off. And then new this year, the Friends of East Goshen is doing a park camp out on June 3rd, $50 per space, which is 20 by 20. Bring your tent and you arrive at 6 p.m. There's lots of activities and then we leave the park at 9 a.m. the next day. And Jason has a special surprise at 11 o'clock at night, which
No, it's not.
I'll get arrested.
He's gonna close the bathroom. He's gonna close the bathrooms. That'll be the special surprise. So close the bathrooms.
All right.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jess.
This year, I'm the liaison with the Park and Rec Commission. You got it. Pipeline Task Force is next.
Evening, everyone. I'm Jerry Sexton. I'm the chair of the Pipeline Task Force. First, I'd like to run through our 2022 accomplishments. One of our top priorities is pipeline hazard mitigation, and our first accomplishment really speaks towards that. We met with the Deputy Director of Emergency Management of Chester County. His name is Mike Groover. Had a really good meeting with him, established a good working relationship. The county has issued requests for proposals to put together modifications and additions to their hazard mitigation plan to better address natural gas liquids emergencies. Our second and third accomplishments are the result of our other top priority, and that's commenting on pipeline legislation and regulations. So back last January, we provided comments to the DEP regarding the renewal of the Sunoco Mariner East project, the permit for that project. And in April, we provided comments, again, via the Board of Supervisors, to the Public Utility Commission on some rulemaking they were doing regarding public utilities with specific reference to hazardous liquids. Our fourth accomplishment was actually an idea from David Shuey. And the more we got into this, the better idea I thought it was. And that was to investigate the feasibility of utilizing external leak detectors at the Adelphi valve station on Paoli Pike, which is right across the street there. That station has changed function, and now it is a true valve station. And that Delphi can vent natural gas through that. So we completed some research and provided some recommendations regarding methane leak detection. And it is feasible, and we recommended that it would be done. So the Board of Supervisors made a formal request to Delphi and their operator, which is NJR Midstream, to install these devices. And one of our goals for next year, which I'll get to later, is to continue this work with the other stations in the township. Number 5, we made recommendations to FEMA regarding guidelines on pipeline emergencies. And the Board of Supervisors mailed letters to elected federal and county officials or county commissioners in October regarding this request. The Pipeline Task Force published articles in the Township newsletter in the summer and the fall. And we continued our outreach with Carolyn Comita, our state senator. She participated in a Q&A with us back in June. It was very informative, and we plan to do that again next year too. We worked with the township manager to codify the township contacts of all the companies that have pipelines in East Goshen Township. There was an incident last year where, the township just really wasn't informed of what was going on. And the pipeline company said, well, we contacted 811. 811 is not sufficient for the kind of work that was being done. So I think this is a good step in the right direction to make sure that they know they need to contact the township when they want to do work and who it is they should contact. We worked with the township manager and the public works director to implement a regular monitoring of the subsidence that was identified on Route 352. It's near it's across the street from the Bow Tree development. And so they, keep an eye on that and check for any kind of changes to that. We did some work to kind of coordinate with the recent changes to the noise and nuisance ordinance. And we made sure that anything in our ordinance didn't conflict or, cause a problem with some recent decisions that were made by the PUC regarding noise pollution. This was a result of a problem with the pipeline project down in Middletown Township. So we try to learn from the actions and in some cases the mistakes of others. We made our local fire companies aware of some pipeline emergency response training that was recommended by the county. And this training was in person and allowed our first responders to engage with local pipeline operators. We thought this was a good idea that they all know about it. It sounded like a really good training, hands-on, and I think they could get a lot out of it. And lastly, we monitored a proposed project for a liquid natural gas plant in Chester. The impact to us could be that obviously a large feed line will be needed for this plant. And one of the options that is being considered is to use the Texas Eastern Pipeline, which runs through our township to supply natural gas to this plant. So those are our accomplishments. I'll move on to our objectives for this year, 2023. Our first 4 goals are really what I consider to be ongoing objectives. And part of our mission statement, if you will, is to continue to advise the Board of Supervisors on pipeline issues that impact the township and its residents. We will continue to monitor all the 11 active pipelines in the township. We contribute to the quarterly newsletter. We've done that the last 2 weeks. We'll try to do that every quarter, come up with something informative in a format that's easy for regular people to understand. You don't want to get too technical with this stuff or it's just going to go right over people's heads. And also, we're supposed to be staffed at 7. We're currently at 5 members right now. We just added 2 new members. Really glad to have them. We could certainly use some more help. There's a lot of work to do, and what we can do and what we can accomplish is kind of limited by how many people we have to work on this kind of thing. It can be intense and it can take up a lot of time. It gets into there's a lot of details to be researched thoroughly. Number 6 is we will continue to explore development of that hazard mitigation plan that I talked about earlier. It's our first accomplishment. Our mission is to provide input and support to Chester County as they update that plan. And like I said, it's going to reflect better the specifics of an emergency with respect to natural gas liquids. Right now we're working on providing some input to PEMA on their state hazard mitigation plan. It was last published in 2018, so it's due for an update. It's a huge plan. Our focus will be on the sections that have to do with pipelines and that kind of thing. Another one that this is in progress already. We're going to contact Chester County about updating their pipeline website to reflect current status. There's some things there that are a bit out of date and could be updated. That would make it more useful and informative for all Chester County residents. Our last few objectives for the year, we will continue to continue outreach and relationship building with elected officials. Again, like I mentioned before, we do plan on having Carolyn come in and come back to another one of our meetings. It was great last year. I think she's a wonderful resource for us. We'd like to outreach to the emergency management coordinator and the assistant for the township. To date, we really haven't had much interaction with them, and I think we should. I understand the individuals in those positions are quite busy. Stephen Hero is he's a Waco police officer, is that correct?
West Goshen.
Or yeah, West Goshen, and he
Also, public works partner.
yeah. So I understand he does not have a lot of free time on his hands. But perhaps between he and the assistant, is he a township employee, Edward?
Yes, he's a public works employee.
Okay. And
also a firefighter by trade.
Well, that's good, but also I'm sure they don't have a lot of free time on their calendars. Well, we'll work that as best we can. And lastly, as I mentioned before, we'll continue to monitor that project in Chester for the natural gas or for the liquid natural gas plant. And again, the concern there is if they would use the Texas Eastern Pipeline, would they, be looking to do something like what happened with Mariner? They want to do an upgrade or an expansion. That could have some serious impacts to the township. So those are our goals for this year. Any questions or comments?
Jerry, I have one. I wonder, a suggestion that may or may not be of value, and I'm thinking of Michelle and the extraordinary effort she made, was it more than a year ago now, to actually travel to Texas to meet with Energy Transfer Partners to find out more in depth. And that's a whole nother story, but it was an extraordinary effort. But I wonder if the Pipeline Task Force has thought possibly about over the course of the months in the next year or two ahead, inviting representatives from these current pipeline operators to attend a meeting, give an update, what's going on. And if nothing else, even though there may be some, if you will, corporate speak that goes with their public relations, it'll still send a message back to some elements of the particular operators that this community is watching and is interested. So it's just a suggestion as I was looking through the various objectives and of the Pipeline Task Force. I thought, that's one that, bring them into our court and invite them and welcome them, but be incising too and trying to ask the questions. If nothing else, you can't get it that night, maybe there'll be some follow-up and you'll see how responsive they are. It's a little bit of brinksmanship, but at the same time, there could be some value added to both sides.
No, I agree. Actually, I think that's a good idea. We can look into doing that, as to whether
I hear you, whether they want to participate,
but yeah, it shows we made the effort.
Shows engagement.
Yeah. No, I think, we'll look into that. Yeah, thanks.
Thanks, Jerry.
Okay.
Anything else? No, thanks for your time.
Thank you, Jerry.
Thank you for all your efforts.
The liaison with the Pipeline Task Force is David Shuey. Next up is the Planning Commission. And we have Ernie.
Oh, Ernie.
Is it cold in here or is it just me?
It's just you.
That's a little cool.
It's very cold.
Good evening. My name is Ernie Harkness. I'm the chairman of the Planning Commission, and I want to thank you very much for giving us the opportunity to provide what we did during the year and what we have planned on our table going forward. Just a little bit of information about the Planning Commission. It's designated by Township Code Chapter 63. It's a 7-member commission appointed by the Board of Supervisors for a 4-year term. We have, I think, 2 members of the Planning Commission, John Stripe, who is our vice chair, and Dan Daly, who's been a longtime member and a great input, and John also to the Planning Commission. I'm glad to hear. I think I've got everybody. We've got a couple other members. We have Dan Daly, Ed Decker, Mike Koza, Mark Levy, and Mike Paganelli. It's a 7-member team. We are now allowed to authorize funds without the Board of Supervisor consent in writing. And believe it or not, I just noticed today when I was briefing that we are allowed to be compensated, but none of us are being compensated. And we're not allowed to be compensated more than the Board of Supervisors, which I think that's 0, but well, I think there's a little bit there. But anyway, I was surprised to see that when I was doing my homework today.
Well, thank you further for giving.
So we've had a fairly busy year in 2022. A number of things have come up to us. Some of them are in progress and some of them have been voted on by the board, and some are in the process of being reviewed by the zoning board. So just as some background, we will look at changes to ordinance. We'll look at variances that people propose for land development, subdivision land development, or any variances for required if people want to make changes to their property that are need to require variance for one of the ordinances. We provide a recommendation to the Board of Supervisors, and they have the authority to vote on the variance or the ordinance change.
Go, of course, variances to the zoning hearing board.
That is correct.
Take some place of time. That's the zoning hearing board's domain.
Right. I think it, correct me if I'm wrong, Dan, I think it goes to you first and then to the zoning hearing board, correct? Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay. So a couple of things we've worked on, the things we have worked on in 2022, we have made the preliminary land development application for Malvern Institute was recommended to the Board of Supervisors. I believe that is still on hold by the Malvern Institute themselves. I think they're waiting to redo some part of that application. There also is a pending appeal and zoning variance for 14 Broad Street zoning appeal and zoning variance. I think that has been voted on by the zoning hearing board. That is completed. We did provide and commented on potential alternate routes for the Paley Pike Trail, which was requested by the Board of Supervisors to take a look at that. We provided that to you. We're in the process of reviewing the Applebrook Golf Club land development application. There's some things going on with the application have to do with how it's situated and some easements with the township. And actually, you'll see that's going to come back up in this year. There's going to be some changes made to the request, and we'll be reviewing that actually at our next meeting tomorrow night. We did review the open space development application, conditional use application for 1010 Hershey Mill Road, a sketch plan, and that was heard by the Board of Supervisors, I believe, the last meeting, and that's currently under review, waiting for the conditional use approval. If it goes through the conditional use approval, the next part is it goes through the subdivision and land development process under the open space development ordinance. We did review the noise ordinance standards in the zoning ordinance. That was approved by the Board of Supervisors. We recommended it. They approved it. I think we're going to be making a few changes to that coming forward. I've heard in the wings, we might see that coming to our plate. Okay. For next year, Planning Commission goals of really listing the work we have on our docket. Applebrook Golf Club maintenance facility expansion, I indicated that is coming back to us with some changes to what was originally proposed, and we'll work through that. And then also the 1010 Hershey Mill open space development. Once that conditional use decision has been made, well, we'll walk through the next step in that process. 301 Reservoir Road subdivision and land development. That is a new application. We have looked at a sketch plan on that. We haven't seen the official documents yet to make a recommendation. That is off of, they're looking to put in, I believe, 4 or 5 homes into that it's a five homes into that piece of property off of Reservoir Road. The 14 Reservoir Road has another subdivision application. We've had a few of those over the last 2 years, maybe 3 years, where some of those properties are fairly deep and people are wanting to subdivide them and put in a flag. We call it a flag lot, but where the driveway will go to a lot in the back. That's currently with 14 Reservoir Road. We're in the process of, we'll be reviewing that. The Malvern Institute Land Development, as I talked about, when that comes to fruition for the next revision, we'll be looking at that. Something that is new to the township, back in 2021, we had a pipeline awareness study that was requested by the Board of Supervisors and the Pipeline Task Force to evaluate what we could do for any type of ordinance that would protect the township residents and protect the township with regard to pipeline issues. We did issue a new ordinance, pipeline that require a pipeline awareness study under certain conditions. This year, we have received our first 2 pipeline awareness studies. One is for 1010 Hershey's Mill Drive, and the other is for Applebrook Club Maintenance. Both fall within 660 feet of a pipeline. The Planning Commission has approved the 1010 Hershey Mill Drive pipeline awareness study. We will be looking at the Applebrook Club tomorrow night at our meeting tomorrow night. Okay. There are 2 new issues that came up that aren't on this sheet, and they came up. They'll be actually starting the review tomorrow night. And one is for a variance at 1722 Town Drive with regard to a swimming pool, and it's a setback variance on the backyard. And the other one is 905 Airport Road. They already have a conditional use approval. It's actually been revised a few times, and are asking for a subsequent revision to that conditional use approval. And this is support some types of manufacturing, and that will start in our docket tomorrow night.
No kind of manufacturing?
Pardon me?
No kind of manufacturing?
I don't want to quote off the top of my head, but I think they're making some type of bathtubs where they'll be assembling it.
I think that's correct.
That's correct,
That's
right?
correct,
Yeah, bathtubs, yeah. Okay, and then finally, we still have the traditional labor overhead overlay that has been sent to the board. If it does get approved, we will like to support any type of support with regard to that. Other than that, Mike Lynch is our liaison this year for the Planning Commission. And we have been looking at possible changes to some of the ordinances come up. I know Derek and with Dwayne have been looking at some ordinances and reviewing them. So as they come up, we'll certainly take a look at them, or if you want something specifically looked at, we'd be more than happy to take a look at it. But I think we're going to have a fairly, somewhat of a busy year this year. We seem to have a lot more going on in the township with regard to people out and about making changes and what have you. So with that, I open for any questions of the public or the board.
Well, thank you.
Ernie, I just one item, and of course, this I'm mentioning this now, as you just said, it is going to be a busy year for the Planning Commission. But if the Planning Commission would somehow start to kind of put into your thought process, maybe it'll involve over the course of the year the members taking a look at the current comprehensive plan. Perhaps in 24, maybe 25, it may be a time to start to think about an update to the comprehensive plan. It'll be about really about 10 years as that comes up. There have been some changes. We've learned a lot of things in the interim that could have an impact on upgrading or updating the comprehensive plan. It's a big process. So I'm not suggesting, of course, a lot of it would be, some of the impetus would come from the board. But it is a key document and a guide for the township, not just in land use, but a number of other categories, whether it's circulation, even community services. And so it might not be a bad idea for just to kind of, start to get in the head of the Planning Commission members as to, is this document, maybe we'll take a read through it and see. I'm not asking anything in detail, but start to think about that process.
Yeah, I think off the top of my head, I believe maybe Daniel, I believe it was reviewed in 15, I believe.
Yes.
And it's due 2025, correct? Every 10 years.
Not due in 2025. at the discretion of the Board of
That's
Supervisors.
exactly right.
There's no state mandate as to how long your comprehensive plan sits on the shelf or is updated. You can update it every 2 years. You can update it every 25. So it's up to the current Board of Supervisors at the time.
Yeah, that's right. It's not a mandatory thing, but it's,
And
you may have some insights on it if you get a chance to take a closer look at it. Both individually, maybe we'll have a share of it, maybe before the year's out to say, here's some things maybe, and it could be, may not need any update at all, and it may have some indications for, a partial update, and you can do that without having to do every line and chapter in it. And I've seen those done in the past, but it just popped into my head as I saw your objectives.
That's something I'd be more amenable to as well. It's just kind of looking at what does need to be updated.
Oh, sure.
Okay.
But I didn't want to, especially after what you said, knowing what's on the docket looking for this year, I didn't want to burden with that, but just start to get it into your under your thinking cap a little bit.
well, it's certainly not a burden, but what we could do is take a look and see what it would entail, what is entailed with the process. We could take a look at the last time, the process that it took to make that happen. And we could, maybe recommendation on, quite frankly, I don't think that this sits solely with the Planning Commission. I think we can make some recommendations as to what you might look at for what might be a possible population that would work on that.
You might have, it could be a comprehensive plan task force of members of the various
Right.
agencies, some at large, and then the public participation process will be a real important one when that time comes, when it occurs, if it occurs, 24, 25, or beyond. But I think that's a real important element to try and involve the community, and with some of the newer technology we have now to better inform, et cetera. So a lot of conversation. But I just thought I'd mention it tonight, Ernie.
Well, the good thing is Mike is taking over as liaison.
Yes.
With the Planning Commission, so he will be able to discuss that more with the commission.
I think that they've already quietly voted to oust me for this year.
No, we're going to keep him, but I was thinking maybe we can get Chat GPT, the AI, to write the comprehensive plan for us. I really want to be looking forward with the new. So, well, thank you, Dan and John. Do you have anything that you want to mention? Great. Well, thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you all. Next, we'll move on to the ESAC, the Environmental and Sustainability Advisory Council. Christy? Christy would have read that for you.
No, not that. So first of all, thank you so much, our East Goshen Board of Supervisors, for your unconditional support of the last 4 years of our organization, of our committee as a Sustainability Advisory Committee, and now most recently for supporting us fully in our transition to an Environmental and Sustainability Advisory Council. There are some advantages to doing that. And I want to thank David for getting us started in the first place, for promoting and writing the original resolution. Thank Jason very much for serving for the last 4 years as our amazing recording secretary, and to Jess who's going to be joining us now. I want to thank our committee of most dedicated and experienced environmentalists. They have worked so hard and so diligently to bring our projects forward. 2 of them are here tonight. Brian, please stand up. Brian Hutchinson and Christine McCormick, the newest member of our committee.
All right.
Christine's just joined us. They both have outstanding resumes as environmentalists. Okay, so one of the main projects we accomplished in the past year was the very first, and hopefully what will become, an annual Sustainability Expo. And we filled pretty much every space in the township building last April, around the timing of Earth Day. And then almost immediately after we finished, we were approached by one of the board members at West Goshen Township about a possible combined effort. And we are moving forward very actively with that. We have a committee that has met a number of times and will now be meeting weekly. Because we will be including their vendors and some of their professionals, we will be moving to our park. And the date for that is April 15th, so that we don't conflict with Conservancy's yearly plan to host the Keep East Goshen Beautiful on Earth Day weekend itself. We're doing it the previous Saturday so that we can support your effort and not conflict with it.
April 15th at East Goshen Park?
Yes, and Sunday is the rain date. So Saturday is and we will be including vendors, and there may be a more specific focus this year, which really I think the Pipeline Task Force will be happy to hear, will be helping individual residents to reduce and ultimately eliminate their reliance on fossil fuels. So, all right, so we participated in literally every township event that we were pertinent for. Obviously, Community Day, Keep East Goshen Beautiful Day, the Art Walk, Pumpkin Festival, and the Trick or Treat event in the summer. And we will continue in the coming year to do that in every possible way that we can. And as I mentioned, one of the reasons for transitioning from a sustainability advisory committee, and there are a number of those in Pennsylvania and in Chester County, as there are a number of environmental advisory councils, but we have decided to combine and be the best of both. One of the useful reasons is so that we can have access to available grants so that we can help East Goshen to raise some extra funds, which is always a good thing. We have had representation in the past year on the Westchester Green Team, the Westchester Area Clean Energy Future Committee, the Chester County Environmental Alliance, and we will continue, and I'm jumping to cover both what we've been doing and what we're about to do. We will be expanding our outreach, as we've already begun to do, to work with local EACs and SACs in our greater Chester County area. So we will be doing some joint projects with them as well. At our expo, a number of people showed up on their bikes, and there was no place to put their bikes. So we recommended and have been approved for a bike rack in front of the township building, which I believe is about to be installed. And we hope that we've been promoting that several will be added to the park as well. We have started our own Facebook page for our ESAC, and we have a media committee that has been very actively posting. So anyone who is on Facebook, there's all kinds of practical ideas. So if you want to join us, just look us up on East Goshen Township ESAC Facebook page. And so we met with Mark Miller and Derek, and we have approval, and we will be picking up plantings. So we're going to start. We hope that you will see over the next several years some wonderful changes to the appearance in front of the township building. So we're starting with some all native and indigenous plantings that are deer resistant, that are low maintenance, that require less water, that will be easier for us and for Mark's committee to maintain. We're starting with the area right at the entrance to our township building where the sign is. And then later in the summer, we hope to begin planting the area in front of the maintenance building. On that side, there's no entrance right there, so that all that area where there's wonderful trees there can be expanded, and Mark kindly offered to help with a number of aspects to get that up and running. We have been working with the Westchester Green Team to design a series of programs for next summer around the Lenape Indian theme because they are the original residents of our area. And while many people think that there are none left, there are quite a few Lenape Native Americans who are still in the general area in Delaware County and in Chester County and in East Goshen. So we're looking forward to presenting a series of programs for the children and for families around that theme. And we're thrilled that our recommendation for East Goshen Township to purchase a number of lidded recycle bins for families has been applied for, and we expect to receive those fairly soon, or receive word that they have been approved for about 3,000 of them to be delivered. And this enables residents to put out their recycling that will not be affected by the rain or the snow. So it won't ruin the cardboard and all the things that you carefully put in your recycling bin that sometimes get ruined when they're put out on the street and then we have a rain or snow. So we should hear about that very shortly. And on our recommendation, there have been 2 charging stations, EV charging stations installed at the Giant Shopping Center, which are being actively used both by individuals who work in that shopping center and people who come to shop. And so we'll be working to try to promote more of these around in some of the other smaller shopping centers and throughout East Goshen.
Excuse me for a second, Christy. I just want to bring something to the attention. One of those spots is getting active use. The other spot is not, because it's listed as a handicap spot. So I brought that to Derek's attention. He's been in touch with Ed McBall, and
yeah. So there was a code change for 2021 that required those type of situations to have accessibility via a handicap spot in front of one of them. The 2021 code has subsequently been challenged and is now in the Commonwealth Court. So we are reverting back to all 2018 code for UCC purposes. That's the Uniform Construction Code of Pennsylvania. So at this time, we informed them that if they wish, and Ed McFalls did say they wish to proceed with that, they can in fact make that a non-handicap spot. And it was not a handicap spot prior to the EV installation. So that's an important point as well.
So I brought this to Derek's attention because I noticed that anytime I was in that shopping center, it was never being utilized. The only time it was utilized that to my knowledge, was when I parked in that spot for my parents with a handicap vehicle. That was not an EV vehicle. And there was just no other handicap spot available for them. So I brought it to Derek's attention because I wanted to make sure that it wasn't something that we, the township, had required, or if it had been a requirement of the township, why? And like he said, it turned out that there was a code component. The 2021 code actually got in the way. So hopefully this other spot will start being utilized.
Well, I appreciate that because now we can make sure that we are aware of that when we try to promote it at some of the other.
It will be interesting though, when the court process is done and the 2021 UCC code is actually implemented, if they don't get rid of that provision, how does that affect future sites, not only in East Goshen, but regionally and Commonwealth wide? So
can you let our committee know as you go forward, because we're trying to reach out. And now that Sunoco is no longer using all the back end of the parking lot, there's plenty of parking spaces.
It's going to be in court for a while.
Okay,
so, yeah,
that's all
but
right.
I'll keep you updated.
Okay. No, not at all. I'm just trying to see if there's anything else. Oh, so in addition to our new Facebook page, we are working on content to add a lot of helpful information on the East Goshen website under our ESEC tab. We will, beginning in advance of the next expo, which is April 15th, we will be resuming some of the Zoom programming because we have 2 or 3 that will be appropriate for people to watch in advance of coming, so they'll be informed and then hopefully ready to engage with some of the vendors who will be coming with specific options for our residents. So I think I've covered everything. Any questions?
Hi, if we're delivering 3,000 recyclable bins, you know, recycling, as you know, is not done very well. People are put all sorts of stuff out there that may or may not be recycled. Even the stuff they're recycling may or may not be recyclable by the way they're putting out. Any chance we might make a little sheet, maybe with 5 things you could do, 5 things you shouldn't do?
Yes, we got stickers that we handed out at the last expo, and we will be including those with the bins. It will be part of the educational process. And again, one of the main reasons for needing lidded bins is so that so it will help people to protect what they are recycling to make sure it continues to be useful. But you're absolutely right. There's a lot of confusion. And from one area to another, one state to another, all the regulations are different depending on what your particular area is able to recycle based on the equipment that you have to do it and what is currently possible now that China doesn't accept. There's things change. So it will be a big part, thank you very much, of what we'll be doing.
Christy, can I make 3 quick comments?
Please.
One, thank you for the lidded recycling bins effort. I'm very excited about that. And the one nice thing as well that they do at Community Day every year, which is my favorite table, they have games for kids in regards, they have certain products. Is this recyclable or is this not recyclable? And I even learned a couple of things. My last comment for you, I wanted to thank you for your leadership in the ordinance change, transitioning to the ESAC. You saved us a lot of billing hours with our solicitor by doing all the research on the ordinance. So thank you for that.
Good.
Any other questions?
Thanks for making me.
Well, thank you all for staying. I didn't know. I mean, we're almost at the end and you all stayed. Thank you so much.
Thanks for making extra effort to be here today.
Of course. Thank you.
Thank you, Christy. David Shuey is the liaison with the ESAC. Next up is the Conservancy Board. Sandy.
Oh, David left. All right. I won't take it personally, David. I'm just kidding. So I am Sandy Snyder, no relation to Debbie Snyder. I am the chairman of the East Goshen Conservancy Board. This will be my 2nd term, been on the board for 15 plus years. I have 2 other members here, Walter Wujak and Eric Meyer here. For a lot of this year, we would have liked to do a little bit more. We did a good amount, but at some points we were down to like 3 members. So it was really tight there for a while.
Yeah, you have Karen's here as well. So
where? Oh, I'm sorry, Karen. I was just going to introduce you actually, even though I didn't know you. I'm happy to have Karen. So we now have Karen, who is like a founding member of our board. She came back. So we're obviously not terrible, right? Because she came back. So we are so happy. So we're now sitting back to like a 5. I mean, I'll echo one of the other boards that mentioned, we would like to be at 7, especially we're very labor intensive. It helps us to have hands on deck, boots on the ground. It's very hard for us to get done what we want to get done when we don't have, a full member staff. So, thank you to the Board of Supervisors. I know you guys have been trying. I know the applications weren't always coming, but we appreciate the effort to get us some more people. So Karen, thank you so much. We're so happy to have you. I'm excited for you to start back with us. So there are a couple things that aren't on our accomplishments that I'm going to add at the end. We have been managing the Keep East Goshen Beautiful Day. I want to say, Walt, you can correct me, but I want to say it's going on like 7-ish years. We took it over from other people that were doing it just because it seemed to fit with what we do. So I want to thank all the boards that come out, and it is again a labor intensive. I know you don't want to pick up trash on the side of the road, but I hope you notice that it is getting better. If you look at some of the areas when you're driving around the township, it is definitely getting better. I mean, there were some high volume areas where we know people throw trash out at red lights and things like that, but this concerted effort is definitely working. You know, Mark can even attest to it. When we first started, I mean, his guys were driving around those mornings and I'm talking hours of picking up bags. And it's good that they're not driving around for hours picking up bags. There's not as much trash out there for us to pick up. We will be, I guess I can say it now, but our Keep East Goshen Beautiful date, Christine sort of alluded to it. We try to pick Earth Day or Arbor Day or, you know, that weekend. So it will be April 22nd. It's a Saturday, similar to the ESAC committee. We do a rain date the following day, just in case it's really a washout. We try to go, even if it's drizzling, just FYI, unless it's really, really pouring, we try to just stick boots on and go anyway, because it's kind of hard to get Public Works back out, you know, get the message back out to people that it's a rain date. You know how that goes. It's better just try to go with the day that you have. We always do the Bluebird houses in Applebrook, and we also have, doesn't say it on here, but we also have Bluebird houses on Reservoir Road in the Supply Valley Preserve. So we have two places where we'll go and we clean them out. If you don't know about Bluebirds, they're essential to our ecosystem. And if you don't clean out their little houses, they won't come back. So we have to clean them every year. And Mark's guys have the little plans that we make. So if you guys are ever walking around and you see one that's in really bad shape, just send me an email and let me know. And we will go out and put a new one up for that, you know, that bird and take that old one down, because they're just wood and obviously they deteriorate over the time. Climbers Woods has been sort of our tasked baby to keep, you know, in check. It's like our entranceway right to the township coming from that section of Paoli, and we constantly maintenance it. So again, if you're ever out walking and you see some trees that aren't looking too healthy, send me an email, let me know. We will go out and look at it. If it's not leafing out by a certain time, we know it's probably not going to, and it could be a blight, it could be deer, it could be somebody weed whacked it too close. It could be a number of things, but we will go out, we will make sure, and if it needs to come down, it'll come down, and, you know, we'll get a new tree in there. So wood chipping is another thing that we do to try to maintain the health of the trees, obviously for hydration. It keeps the mowers away from it. But it's a really beautiful area. I know my board can attest. Every time we're out there, I mean, it's just tons of people walking. It's so nice to see. They're sitting on the benches. I mean, honestly, I don't think I've ever gone out there and not at least seen one resident. And it could be 14 degrees and they're out there. They walk all the way down to that loop and around and back out. I mean, it's unbelievable, especially considering there's no parking there. So there's no way to get to that unless you've now trekked all the way down. But they love it. They use it. And we are, you know, going to keep maintaining it. One of the things, it doesn't say it down below, but if you read our meeting minutes, it was in it from the other meeting. It just didn't make it into this printing. We've been partnering with the Goshen Tree Tenders. And one of the things I think we are going to try and do is plant some shrubbery in about that area. Again, trying to, you know, make sure that the understory stays healthy in Climbers Woods. So you may see us out there, you know, say hi to us when we're out there, but, you know, that's going to be another probably planting. Pick up a shovel while you're there. You see a big pile of wood chips in the corner and you feel like you want to get some energy and you want a wood chip. By all means, you just don't go right next to the trunk, just, you know, but wood chip away. We worked on the Tree City USA application with our former Mark Gordon. And the only reason we didn't get it was this really tiny caveat that we needed to do an Arbor Day presentation and tree planting the year prior to the application. So we did do it last year. So we have our Arbor Day presentation in 2022. So now when we submit the application, we should have no problem. So I do believe we will be getting that recognition coming soon. And I will be working, and the rest of our board will be working with Ashley to get that done. And we will be having, John, you'll be there, or somebody will be there. They will be giving the proclamation for the tree.
Huh? I thought you were a lawyer.
Still is.
I am a lawyer. Why is that relevant?
You haven't heard of nunc pro tunc?
I have.
Tell the people what that means.
It means the body is not here. He is not the body.
Now for them.
Right.
In other words, you can reform something that you didn't do last year by doing it this year and declaring that you did it last year.
You can try. We tried that. Mark tried that. And they told us to go plant another tree. and go have another proclamation. So we did attempt that, and they just said, well, that's a great job that you planted the tree, but you did it in the wrong year that you did the application. So we will be, I very feel confident that we're going to get it this year. And if not, we planted a tree and we had a beautiful ceremony and we have a nice tree.
Do it again and again.
Yeah,
and again.
we're getting this Tree City grant and notification so that we can start, and then that will be, we will start having that on the signs at the entryway to the township because, it's a big deal to be noticed as a Tree City. So one of the things that we started doing was we started a liaison with Willstown Conservation Trust. They're an unbelievable resource and wealth of knowledge. They work closely also with National Land Trust. And so we have started to partner with them. And as you can see down below in our goals for this coming year, we're going to start doing like educational programs to the residents with their assistance. So the first one is going to be on, if you guys remember about like 10 years ago, the Daily Local News did a report that our streams were all red and we don't have healthy streams. And obviously that all filters down, ends up in the Chesapeake, and it's a major problem, right? So we're going to partner with them and they're going to come and talk to us about, where the streams are at now and why, we using fertilizer and things like that, especially residents who back up to our streams, how critical they really are to this element of keeping those streams healthy. So look for that. It will be either in the spring or in the fall. We're not sure yet. It's really going to depend on their schedule. So one of the other things that we did accomplish is we did a huge planting at the Supply Valley Preserve. We are tasked, I know one of the people that came up were talking about the comp plan. So our goals really follow the comp plan since 2015. We really try to stick with like, these are what we're tasked by the Board of Supervisors to try to accomplish. And those are the things that we're going to try to accomplish. And then anything else that comes down the pipe, we're going to do that as well. So obviously we're really tasked with providing a riparian buffer. And that means planting close enough to the streams that we're stopping that runoff, right? The roots of the trees are absorbing it or the shrubs, and the runoff isn't going into our streams. So we did a huge planting in Supply Valley, and in the goals for next year, I believe we're going to try to continue it. We still have more room on both sides. I think we can probably put another 10-ish, maybe even 15 trees there. And they're going to be gorgeous and they're going to provide screening, which will be nice for some of the residents that live there. So if you are in that area, you should go check it out. The planting came out really, really nice. We did, as I mentioned, partner with Goshen Tree Tenders, and they were able to also get us a really good deal on some trees. So we saved a lot of money by partnering with them. And they actually helped bring the trees from the Navy Yard, and they were really, really helpful, which was great because we saved a ton of money and got really nice ball root, trees that went into the ground, and they're doing wonderfully. And usually they're super, super expensive. So it was really nice to be able to get that kind of a quality tree for the price that we got it. The other thing that we do that's not on there that we didn't have too many of it this year, but we did have Malvern Institute, is obviously we are the ones that look at the land development plan when it comes in. So, we will provide insight to either the developer, the engineer, or the resident, whoever's there, and try to help them stick with the ordinance. These are the trees that these are the shrubs you should be putting in. If you're taking this tree out, we really need you to put this one in. And so we will probably get Malvern again. And obviously we're there for the residents. Some of them were, a little upset about the Malvern Institute situation, but, we listened to them, we heard them, and, they were concerned about some noise and things like that. And we, talked about screening options with larger evergreens and things like that. So, we recommended that to Malvern. Obviously they had other issues with their plan, and so they're going to come back when they're ready. But I know we have a couple other ones coming down, towards us, and obviously we'll give our recommendation at that time. So as I said, some of the goals I already talked about for next year, but we will continue to do those things. We do them those just are sort of nest egg. We would like to do more newsletters. We used to do every single one, but I think really it was just, honest to God, we didn't have the manpower to manage it, but we are back now. So we should have no problem making sure that we get Jason those newsletter articles, because they're important, and we want to make sure that we're educating the residents, especially in an ecological conservation way, so that they know, what they need to be doing for their properties.
Sandy, we are spacing it out a little bit better this year,
okay.
I think. So I think as far as an editorial calendar, it'll be more manageable for you guys.
Okay, that probably will help. Yeah. Oh, really? Oh, that'll be good, actually. I think more people will read it. Okay, good. So obviously I don't need to, go into the maintaining, we're going to continue to maintain it. As I said, East Goshen Beautiful Day, it's going to be, the East Goshen Beautiful Day will be here, and then we will move at some point over to wherever we decide, or actually the Board of Supervisors will probably ask us, but wherever we decide to plant the tree for Arbor Day, we sort of do it in the same day. So we'll do the trash pickup, cleanup, and then we will transition. So, you're more than welcome to join us. It was really a nice event. I think we're, probably have somebody from the Daily Local come again and cover it. So it was a nice event. Again, we're going to do a large scale planting over in Supply Valley. We also are always tasked with controlling the invasive species. So you might see, Mark's guys out ripping out invasive plant species. We also hire an outside company to come in and maintain it as well. We are also sort of assisting with the ponds when they need us. We're not on the pond committee, but we did send a liaison when the pond committee was in place. We typically will send somebody from our board to meet whenever it meets. So if that picks back up again, Michelle will let us know. Michelle's our liaison. She's very, very excellent. We really appreciate her insight. She comes to all of our meetings, and, we will send somebody. So just let us know when that kind of picks back up again. Yeah. And then we will make sure somebody from, again, helping with the, if NLT is doing the planting, or if Mark's guys are doing the planting, it'll help us, make sure that the planting is there to keep the pond healthy, because that's the whole goal, so that we're not doing this and not spending any additional money that we don't need to, because it's all full of algae again. So we're going to keep, like I said, partnering with Willstown Conservation Trust. Our goal would really be to do this event, some type of educational event with them, at least one calendar year. If it becomes a very well-received event, we would probably go to twice a year. I think, like I said, we'll probably combine that with the number 10, which is the educating the residents with the speaker. I think that's going to be one in the same. So does anybody have any questions?
Sandy, I have a couple.
Sure.
First, thanks. Eric, thanks. I wanted
Mike's biased. He used to be our liaison for like 3 years and 4 years.
Shout out to Karen. If you don't know Karen Martinek, of course, longtime East Goshen resident, but Karen has been a civic leader in Chester County going back a long ways. And Karen, as I'm looking at you, I don't think you've aged one day since I've seen you as county commissioner. So if you remember, Karen as county commissioner and did a great job. So it's really nice to see you back with your local government and volunteering and putting in your time and effort. So thank you for that. I wonder, and my interest, and I've approached the county commissioners about a litter task force and a core. Hasn't gotten so far, but we've done pretty well here. I'm still interested in the possibility of us having a fall, maybe a lower key event. I've mentioned that before. Mm-hmm. It could be a little bit quieter, not as much effort, but maybe to stimulate some nuts like me who will, focus on a day that's, a number of people might come together, whether it's in October before it gets too cold, something like that, just to see if it's a possibility.
Yeah, I think we would be fine with that. There were years that they did do it twice just because of the weather. Yeah. Like there wasn't a good reception, or I think one year it mistakenly, and this is going back years, it was mistakenly scheduled on the same day as like the electronic recycling event in the park. Oh. And that turned into like a total nightmare. Yeah. That's a whole separate meeting. Thank you for recycling your e-things. Please keep recycling. But it was a whole like snowball. But so not a lot of people came here to pick up the trash. And they actually reached out and said, would you do it again? Because we wanted to do both and we got stuck over there and we couldn't. So I think that would be fine. I would just sort of really defer to Mark, as long as Mark's guys can come. Us coming and manning the table for an hour, we're fine. Yes, we can leave stuff at the front desk, which we've done. We can say you can pick up your materials. It's really Mark's guys driving and making sure they're available to then go, let me know where you're picking up so then I can, because clearly we don't want the trash to sit there and then risk it getting ripped back open by an animal or anything, a person. So as long as we can coordinate that, I don't think that's a problem at all. I think that's very, very doable, and it's very low cost because it's just us buying the supplies.
I just wanted to plant the thought.
I'll put it in my notes. I'll circle back. September?
October, something like that, maybe. Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Sandy.
Yeah. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Like to see get more resident involvement. We have some sort of way to get the residents involved by planting a tree in a resident's yard. So that we, basically log in and put the name of the hat. You want a tree in your yard, you put the tree plant in your yard. I was thinking that would be, that would have been great to have.
Yes.
We had
Almost like a raffle and say, you win a tree, learn something about your environment. That's
And
fun.
then you have to maintain it.
I like that. That's fun. Games are good.
You
The
can
games
plan
get
it in
people
my
engaged.
yard if you want, but I'm not helping.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you, Eric.
All right.
Yeah.
Free for nothing, and then we have to maintain it in perpetuity. That's a little problem that I might have.
Yeah. So I mean, I think if the board would want to think about, the legality of if we come and plant a tree in private property that's not in the right of way, are we relinquishing that? And I think that would be okay if we had that in writing.
I would want a 20-page indemnity.
Right. And I can start working on that tomorrow, but there's too many lawyers.
But that's it.
As you were saying it, I was like writing the legality of that, right? As soon as you said it, it sounded like a great idea. And then I thought until a branch falls and then who owns the tree? No, but I think you're right. We could do it as long as the resident would accept, and seriously, we would have to have some kind of acknowledgement from them that any future. Yeah, right. Don't fall. It might be icy.
You know what I always say? Lawyers have to live too.
Not so long.
Okay. Let me say, Sandy's already said it. Michelle Truitt is the liaison for the Conservancy Board. Any more questions?
Sure.
Unofficially, Mike Lynch will be the head of the special day committee and anything else that he decides to do, the cleanup.
Well, it's a great segue, John, as Tom Kilburn comes up to talk about the Futurist Committee. Speaking of the future and those who are left here tonight, the ABCs and you great volunteers that are here with us, that we have established, don't have all the details yet, but we have an ABC appointed advisory boards and commission recognition event that we scheduled for April 27th. It's going to be at the Sullivan House.
More details to
at
follow.
the Villages of Hershey's Mill. So we'll have a nice venue, and that'll be later on this spring to recognize and thank everybody that's been involved. So I just figured a future event, is a segue to the Futures Committee. Tom, thank you.
And thank you, Mike, for mentioning connectivity between neighbors, because I'm going to talk about that.
Okay.
Okay. I'm Tom Kilburn. On the Futures Committee. Jeff O'Donnell was not able to attend this evening due to a work conflict, so I'm filling in. And Jeff will take over in this year, 2023, as chairman. Jeff has been a real asset for our committee and has brought fresh strategic thinking over these past 2 years. So we're looking forward to his leadership also. We are still looking to add 1 to 2 members. Sound familiar? To our committee. So if you know anyone who might be interested, have them attend one of our meetings and they can see what we do. It's not clear to a lot of people.
I will be next year.
Yeah. I'd also like to recognize Mr. Cody Bright, our board liaison, and Dave Ware, who's not here tonight, our staff liaison, for their support and guidance this past year. Their participation has been very welcome, insightful, and appreciated. So we thank you. And I'd also like to thank another guy that's been thanked a couple times tonight is Mr. Mark Miller for his help in identifying connector options and particularly for a great township tour. My first one for me this last year. Thanks, Mark. This past year, our committee did a follow-up to the first digital survey completed the previous year. In the first survey, some topics received a mixed level of importance and performance. For these areas, we wanted to gain additional clarity around potential future interest where there was not a clear consensus. The following is a recap just for everybody's information, if you haven't remembered what the output of our first survey was. The first survey indicated that our residents have a high degree of loyalty to East Goshen Township, and they feel a strong connection to their community. I think Mike spoke to that earlier also. They are proud to call East Goshen home. Respondents ranked the township high in, number 1, overall quality of life in the township, feeling of safety, number 3, quality of parks and recreational programs for all ages. Thank you, Jason. And Jessica, I guess, is left, huh? Quality and quantity of our green open space. In addition, many residents stated in the comment area that they appreciated that we were asking them for their views on the issues important to the future of the township. And I think this is an important thing. Residents want to have a chance to opine on what's important to them, and we're going to continue in that area. The follow-up survey was designed to provide the Board of Supervisors with additional feedback from our residents covering potential future interests. These were future open space and the willingness to fund it, additional neighborhood and park connector paths, and amenities for central business, for the central business part of the township, which is along Paoli Pike between Wawa and CVS. The key findings of this survey were 72% of the residents surveyed, that's pretty substantial, support the addition of connector paths between neighborhoods and between neighborhoods and the parks. And 47% would be willing to pay higher taxes to help fund. So we're going to move in that direction. 46% of residents surveyed support maintaining or increasing the percent of township open space and are willing to pay higher taxes to support that. And 64% of the residents surveyed support adding street trees to the central business area, and 59% support adding lighting. 51% would be willing to pay higher taxes to help fund. So what does that mean for the Futures Committee? Well, based on these findings, the Futures Committee was charged by the Board of Supervisors to identify low cost, safe connector paths for future budget items. Not something we could do this year or maybe even next year, but this should be on the table going forward. Note the word path. We are already considering several types of low-cost paving options, such as wood mulch and gravel, to extend the township's path network where appropriate. This would lower the cost. Our work thus far has focused on potential safe crossings of major roads for large grouping of residents. In a number of areas, that's going to be a key focus, is finding out where those crossings can take place. A lot of the crossings are taking place today without the right protection to make them safe. Some connections will not require crossing major roads, but pose other challenges. We will need to overcome several potential barriers in any case to achieve additional connectivity in our community. Our work continues. Other previously committed spending priorities took precedence this past year over spending on street trees and lighting in the central business district. And we would like the Board of Supervisors to keep these items in mind for future budget cycles in the light of apparent resident interest. In addition to our work on paths this year, we also plan to identify strategies for addressing the township's need to attract new businesses to our key business corridors. These corridors are along Route 3, Paoli Pike and Boot Road, Paoli Pike, and Boot Road. We now have several empty storefronts along these key arteries in our township. We need to identify additional initiatives that safeguard and strengthen our township's commercial position. We plan to look inside and outside of the township for some fresh new ideas. And we welcome any ideas from inside this room. So if you got any ideas on how to revitalize these areas or attract new businesses and fill these storefronts, come give us a call. So that's all I have for tonight. Anybody have any questions?
Tom, I want to encourage the Futurist Committee to continue with initiatives for surveys, topical or more generalized, as you may see appropriate. I think it's so important to try and get the pulse and thoughts of our residents. It's another medium, if you will. A lot of residents can't attend the meetings here tonight, not interested necessarily in being in a remote setting and participating that way through our Zoom capacity now. I know the most recent survey, I think we had about 600 and, was I right? 660
Just over
responses?
6, yeah, a little over 600. I think it was
That's
600.
a very good sample. Some may not appreciate that, but that's a very good sample amongst what we have, about 8,000 households. Is it or no?
6,700.
18,000 people, 6,500.
6,700.
So that's, you know, that's a 10% sample. That's very good. But I'd encourage the Futurist Committee to bring thoughts, initiative to the board on the next survey topic, whatever it may be. Obviously, we've had good exchanges and input when we've done them. It's a unique committee. I think everybody knows that here. I don't think there's another one in Chester County to try and keep out front, beyond our own nose, looking ahead, because I think the future of the township is the township. I mean, we just can't be in the present all the time. We have to take care of the present, of course, as it says,
right,
in our kind of a mission. But I think it's really important.
With all due respect, I support the pathway, for example. And I know David and Mike especially support the connectors, as they call them. But I wish you would talk to Ernie and John back there about the reaction we had from residents when they talked about the Miller Farm plan. And the idea of putting a walkway or a pathway in there.
Yeah, I did listen in on that discussion.
And I think you need to come to one of the planning meetings and listen to one of those.
One of the things we're going to do, John, and we may be done in the next 2 or 3 weeks, we've identified a way to survey the Bow Tree development. And that's a big development that doesn't have any way of getting to safe again. So what we're going to do,
what you have to do is ask, not would you like pathways? That's too general.
Okay.
You have to ask, will you accept a pathway if it goes through your backyard? Because that's what these people were hot about.
Right.
And they were, Ernie, John, support me on this?
That's what you're hearing.
We received a lot of comments about
And they were mostly negative.
There were negative and there was
Huh?
Be positive.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
we're sensitive to that, John.
I would like to see that easement put in there. I don't say that it's a bad idea, but I want you to know, Tom, the reaction was
you're right.
negative.
You're absolutely right.
Who would be along that easement and that pathway.
Fortunately, we have a good one that we're looking at, which is from Eldridge Drive over the creek into the wetland path. That's a beauty. The township owns all that property, about 3 lots wide. It's hard for me to imagine that people are going to object to that. And frankly, the people that I've ran into while I'm looking at that sites, everybody's, oh, let's do it. They've been talking about it forever. Let's get it done. There'll probably be a couple of people to be negative, John. I mean, if you've got a project here where you're not going to have anybody negative, I'd like to see it.
Don't disagree with that.
Yeah.
Pick the low hanging fruit.
Yeah, that's what we're trying to do.
Yeah, but each of these, in this particular case of these connectors, each one has some unique aspects to it. This one at current that we're still under review with is one where I know I've had conversations with the neighbors about coming back to this about securing an easement in the new development, so it's there for the future, but no intent to have a manifest path, you know, in the way this is located in this particular neighborhood. Again, the micro aspects of the siting, I understand completely, but to have the opportunity to have that for the future in the new development, put it in place, and just the ability for people to be able to walk back and forth without necessarily having a paved trail or anything else, but the opportunity without the legal opportunity, without great resistance or you know, a great presentation of it. But
sure,
these are typically between neighborhoods, and they're very quiet, low impact footpaths, and to have that to be able to crisscross. So each one's different, but John was right. There are a couple neighbors who I know are very adamant and feel it's a real security and a threat to their lifestyle there. And I get part of that as well.
This is not new to East Goshen Township. The neighborhood I live in was built 30 years ago. There are 11 easements that the township in its wisdom put aside in between houses to provide access to various parts of the neighborhood and municipal property. So not a new concept, and it's something that needs to be done.
One thing I want to piggyback on what Mike was saying earlier about the surveys. I was really pleased with the amount of people that participate in our survey. Many of you may not know what I do, but in regards to polling, a candidate statewide will poll about 400 diverse people and use their campaign based off that. So the fact we got over 600 residents for East Goshen Township is very, very important. And I don't know if it was you, Tom, or it was someone else, that Willistown did a paper survey and they had a really high return rate.
They had like a 75 or 80% return on that.
And like what Mike was saying, it's hard for people to get here. Oh, maybe it was David who was saying that. But hopefully in the future, back to the in-person or the paper newsletters, I'm hoping that we can do a survey again. I don't know if it would be in the actual newsletter itself, whether it's a QR code, whatever it is, but to get more eyes on that, because a lot of the residents, you know, may not have email or be in our constant contact, but to be able to continue to do surveys and get resident feedback, I think is important.
Yeah, I was actually talking to somebody in Bowtree because we're gonna survey all the Bowtree residents to see whether they are in favor of this or not in favor of it. And the input there was from a 40-something person, and they said they thought the response would be better in email than having people go out to the mailbox. So I don't know what the answer is on that. We'll have to kind of talk about that some more.
Generational.
Yeah, you're probably right, John. I mean, it's
generational, but I think too, putting with the fact that we have the paper newsletter going out, I think that putting a link in there and say, hey, you know what? Yeah. If you're interested in taking the survey.
Yeah, I wish we'd have had that when we did that one there. I think we'd have had even better response than we
possible,
had.
But this is another way of reaching out to more people.
We lost Brandon though.
I know, it's funny.
I wonder if there's anybody out, anybody know anybody in the township that does surveys for a living? Because we had a guy on our committee for almost 2 years and did the last 2 surveys, and he was terrific.
Where does he live now?
He moved to Hershey, Pennsylvania.
That's not, come on. Yeah. He can come back for a couple of days. We got a couple cots in the public works room.
I thought about that, Derek. Okay, thank you very much. Anybody else? Thank you. Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you, Tom. Cody Bright is the liaison for the Futurist Committee. Good job. I've noticed, it was called to my attention that we have a couple people on Zoom. So if anybody on Zoom has any questions, I apologize for not getting to you sooner, but do you know how to raise your hands?
Well, if somebody is holding off there for a minute, I want to give a shout out also, and it's in the context of, again, that the current Township News magazine that just came out for us. It's called The Changing Face of Township Government. And if you look at the pictures on the front, one of the emphasis that is coming up and is starting to show itself in local government is people that look just like Cody, young and bright. And look at the contrast right here. To have somebody like Cody at the time of his life, when he's building his career, building a family, to commit to 6 years, that's a special thing. And it's not just a shout out for Cody and appreciating his first year as a freshman supervisor, if you will, now in his second year. But that's what I would really like to see here in East Goshen Township. I'd like to see, and it's tough to make a 6-year commitment, but there's going to be new supervisors coming up this next year for the election. I don't know who's going to be, I'm not going to be running again, but there's going to be an opportunity there. We've got a lot of tremendous people, whether they're 70 or whether they're 20, but for somebody young to step up who's got their future in front of them and is probably future looking, somebody like Cody, he's been a wonderful asset to have, to bring in that whole, if you will, that, say it in a pedestrian way, that demographic. And so this changing face of government was a opportune time to mention this relative to you, Cody. So I think it's great that you've been able to step up and take the extra effort for a very big commitment to do this. But having young faces and young minds is a great thing in local government.
Thank you, Mike. I didn't even have to pay you for that, so thank you.
Yeah, no, we didn't rehearse it either.
All right. This is the end of this meeting. First of all, I want to thank all of you on behalf of the board and the township itself for the work you do. Does anyone have a question or a comment? And I go to the audience first for a change. Okay, how about the board? Michael, you?
Well, does anybody want to ask us what our goals are for the year? Nobody's had the temerity, the moxie to say, well, what do you guys want to do this year? Nobody, anybody.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make the motion to adjourn tonight.
Oh, second.
All in favor?
Aye. Guys, thanks very much.
Thank you very
Ladies,
much.
gents,
Thanks for all your work.